Hello, salam, welcome everyone, and welcome Annemarie Jacir, who's today's lecture, if we can call it that. So before we start those two items of business, first, Ahmed is going to explain in Arabic how Arabic speakers can listen to the simultaneous translation by our excellent translator, Numair Kassis.
شكرا جورج. المتابعون على الزوم والذين يفضلون الاستماع إلى المحاضرة بالترجمة الفورية إلى اللغة العربية يرجى النقر على أيقونة الترجمة في أسفل الشاشة التي تمثلها الكرة الأرضية واختيار العربية. هذا الخيار غير متاح لمستمعي الفيسبوك. شكرا جزيلا لنمير قسيس الذي يقدم الترجمة الفورية.
شكرا Ahmed. So the second item of business is that you can, in the chat, you can ask questions, and the questions will be relayed to me, and I will be asking them. Some of them I might be asking them during our actual conversation, and some of them at the end. So our lecture, it's going to be a conversation, an informal conversation, not a lecture really, but our lecturer, our guest, our presenter today is the I don't know, the queen of Palestinian filmmakers and all together a impresario of film in Palestine, Annemarie Jacir. So thank you so much for joining our conversation.
Thank you, George. Thank you. I don't know about the Queen. I think I don't know about the Queen.
Oh yeah,
but I know for sure. But thank you. And yeah, no lecture. We converse.
Yes. Okay. I know that you would be against a monarchy. I'm sure that that's true.
Yes, for sure.
But I think there's one item of business I think we should get over is like why this music, this groovy jazz music during the introductory video. So can you explain?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all, and it's a pleasure to be speak with you, George, and to be part of the Bisan lecture series. It's an honor. And the song you chose, because you saw it, you heard it in When I Saw You, my second feature film, which was in the closing credits. It's an Egyptian jazz piece from 1968 that When I Saw You was, of course, a film set after 1967. Period of the film is 67, 68. And I thought it was a wonderful piece that also embodied something about what the film was about, which is that moment in the 60s when we were very much connected to each other. And, now you talk a lot about fusion in music and food or whatever, but this was something else. I think it was really a moment of real creative collaboration, and showed what it means not to have borders, which is really the heart of what When I Saw You is, and I hope all my work.
So this is the movie that she's talking about, When I Saw You, which is Annemarie's second feature film. And I've got to say, it's just a beautiful movie, a wonderful and greatly moving film that I recommend to everyone. So I'm going to go to, oops, sorry. Yeah, to the first slide of the movie. So these are the two main characters, Tarek, who's played by Mahmoud Asfa, and Radea, who's played by Ruba Blau, who's his mother. So can you give us the setting of this film? Like, who are they and where are they and what year is it?
So this is right after 1967. Their village, Beit Nuba, has been occupied, and they have arrived in Jordan on foot, like so many refugees. It's fiction film, but everything is, of course, based on, inspired, rooted in reality. Tarek and Ghaida are, Mahmoud was a wonderful boy. Now he's a man that is a refugee himself, a Palestinian refugee that was living in Irbid refugee camp, and we auditioned him. We auditioned 200 kids, and until we found him. And he was amazing, and I cast him, and I wanted to work with Ruba Blal, who has been in other films before. She's an amazing Palestinian actress, actually originally from Gaza, but living in Jaffa now. And I really had dreamed to work with her, but I had to find the boy first and make sure that it was believable and they matched and they worked well together as mother and son. And he was a much trickier role to cast because he's a child, and he carries really the whole film. So they arrive there, and he asks the questions, I think the important questions that are childish and naive, but are exactly the right questions that we should be asking. Why can't he go back home? He wants to go back home. It's that simple. He is that simple, and I am that simple.
Yes, I think this is a theme in your films, Auda, return. So he wants to return, and also there's his father, right? I mean, he wants to go back to his home, and he wants to find his father.
Yeah, they've been separated by the father. I did forget to mention that. And you get the feeling also that the mother and father maybe, didn't have the best relationship. I imagined, that people fight, couples fight, things happen, we're very, normal, flawed people, all of us. So I didn't want to fantasize about their relationship too much, but Tarek has an image of, his father, and he wants to get, back to him and back to their village. And I made When I Saw You also when I was denied entry myself, and I wasn't able to get back. I was living in Ramallah at the time, and I wasn't able to get back to Ramallah, and I was in Jordan. I found myself in Jordan like Tarek, and I found myself looking across the border and looking at Palestine, and for the first time in my life, not having the ability to get back, because I'm one of the few Palestinians that have the privilege of movement. I had always, I grew up with Palestine and back and forth, and having that movement, unlike most Palestinians. And then suddenly that was severed. And that's when I started writing this particular story, which is actually about a very hopeful person. But I wrote it at a moment of hopelessness for myself.
Wow, that's very interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah, I think I was trying to find, something to believe, not to believe in, like I never not believe, but I was really down. I was very down when I wrote it. It was a very difficult moment in my personal life. So I was looking for a character to give me something, I think, And it's funny because like it's the opposite of Salt of the Sea, which is, you know, a little bit, you know, it's sort of the opposite of that. It's a character who's, you know, feeling a bit heavy, weighed down by everything. But it was for me personally, when I wrote Salt of the Sea, I was the opposite. I was in this mood of, you know, things are really good. So maybe I just write the opposite of what I'm feeling.
So I don't think you discovered Ruba Bilal. I saw her in a movie called Miral. She played Fatima, who was a really defiant student of Hind Husseini. Have you seen the movie?
I have seen the movie, but I discovered Ruba in Atash, Thirst by Tawfiq Abu Wa'il. That was, I think, her first on-screen presence. She comes from a theater background. She comes from, you know, an acting background, but I think that was her first screen presence, and I was blown away by her and her performance. And I met her shortly after watching Atash, and had her in my head as somebody I really wanted to work with.
I don't think Miral was a very successful film, but her part in it was really excellent. That's the first I encountered her. What about Tarek? I mean, he really has trouble in school. Mr. Nasser is his teacher, and Mr. Nasser is just not nearly as good at math as Tarek is. And Tarek is really, really frustrated by Mr. Nasser. And in general, like what about his personality?
Well, Tarek today would be defined as being probably high functioning autistic or something, but you know, it was a part of the idea of the film is that we never say it, we never know, nobody really knows. He's, you know, he doesn't fit in. He has his, you know, way of being, and like, you know, many people, and I don't think that, you know, at the time in the 60s, in general, not just because it's in, you know, a refugee camp in Jordan, but in general, something like this wouldn't have been discussed so much. But you know, he has his way, and I wanted to explore that in a character, and it's, you know, what makes him different. I hear some voices. That's not ours.
Il va lui obéir immédiatement.
I hear French.
So Tarek runs away.
Yeah.
And over some just gorgeous landscape. Is this really what it was like? Like he runs away, he's gonna return. He's frustrated, I think, with his mother, with the whole refugee camp, and of course with the school and Mr. Nasser, and he can't understand why they just don't go home. I think that's the impression that I get.
Yeah, I mean, was it really what it's like? No, I don't know. I didn't live it, but it's my fantasy, right, of you know, of the period.
Well, you're very careful though about you know, about researching stuff, you know, that so
for sure. It's the line that I, you know, to be really careful, research, a lot of research, a lot of research, looking at documents, watching films of the period, reading, interviewing people. I mean, it was years of research because of I didn't live the period, and but it's fiction, and so there's the freedom of fiction. That's why I like to do, you know, I like fiction because I find freedom in it. I find maybe, you know, the freedom in how doing things with your imagination, with a story, with your team. So Tarek, yeah, he's it's an homage, I think, to that. For me, it's an homage to that generation. That,
Indeed.
you know, خلاص, they took things into their own hands, and because it needed to be done. And also it's a critique of that, you know, what happened. Why, you know, I've asked myself, so what happened? How did it all go wrong? How did it, you know, how did it go wrong? The film is from Tariq's point of view, for sure. It's from a child's point of view. But I really wanted to have that question and that feeling that, you know, it's that soon things are going to change. We're watching the film today. We know that refugees didn't go back yet. So
on the way, Tariq, he didn't arrive. He it gets dark, and so he sleeps, and then this Fedayeen, this freedom fighter or Palestinian fighter, Leif, finds him in the desert. He's played by Saleh Bakri. So did you discover Saleh Bakri? He's been in many of your movies.
yes, Saleh, you guys match, by the way. Saleh and I, many ways, began together. I cast Saleh in Salt of the Sea in 2007, and it was the first time he was in a film. I auditioned many people again, and I met him. I did not know that Mohammed Bakri had children. Now we know he has like a whole acting troupe of children. He has an amazingly talented family. Saleh is the oldest son. I auditioned him. Someone said, "Oh yeah, he's, you know, Mohammed Bakri's son," and he was incredible. And we've been working together ever since. He's for me, I mean, he's really a partner in the work.
So yeah, well, Mohammed Bakri will come in later.
Yeah.
He was very famous, but you didn't know that Saleh was his son. Is that right?
No, I didn't know that. Yeah.
But anyway, so Leif finds Tariq sleeping in the desert, wonders where he's coming from, and eventually ushers him into the Fedayeen camp. And so this is one of the scenes from the camp. This is Abu Akram, who just is a stunning character to me. He's kind of the commandant that is training these Fedayeen. He's the commandant. He's played by it's obscured. I can't remember his name. Can you
Ali
tell me?
Alayan. Yeah, Ali Alayan, who's a Palestinian Jordanian actor. Yeah.
And you discovered him?
I didn't discover anyone. No, I mean, Ali
Well,
also, I you know, auditioned him. I thought he was great.
he's
done
a
other
drill.
things. He's done a lot of TV. For people who watch, especially Jordanian TV, they will recognize Ali. But yeah, he was very serious in the way that Abu Akram, it was serious, you know, and that, you know, Saleh, Tariq took this seriously, and it's, you know, he's also, I had fun with that character. I mean, it was always, you know, that to come back to telling the story from the child's point of view, and how he sees things.
Yes. Okay. And so you can see that Tariq really admires the Fedayeen and respects Abu Akram, and actually, I think the audience does too. There's this certain, I don't know. To me, there's a certain element of sort of comedy about the training. It just seems futile. I don't know. Is that intentional, or do you think that that's the way it is, or am I really misinterpreting this?
I mean, I didn't mean for it to be futile, but I mean, like I said, there's something childish about how it's seen, because it's seen from, Tarek's point of view. But, we shot the film in Dibin, where the Fedayeen were actually, were. And a lot of the actors were children of the Fedayeen. They were the kids of, their parents were there. So it was very real in that way, for us. And I had them, sleep there and train. They all had to do actually very hardcore training. Tarek didn't participate in that, but the actors did. And even during the shooting, at one moment we were filming, there's that scene where you have the whole sort of obstacle course, where,
Yeah.
Abu Akram is, and suddenly the Jordanian helicopters started flying overhead. And first one passed, and then more and more, and then we got stopped, and they didn't realize we were making a film. And it was cleared up pretty quickly, but we were laughing about, oh my God, what? Some pilot flew by and just looked down and saw this scene and probably had a flashback.
But you have a scene like that in the film. Did you just record it while these guys
we were shooting
flying
that.
over?
That's what we were shooting when the helicopter passed. So yeah.
So you didn't have to pay someone to do that. They did it for you for free.
No, those were our guys. Sorry, no, it
Oh,
were our guys.
oh.
They were our actors and our guys, and
Oh.
and somebody flew, a real army person flew over, and then immediately, walkie-talkied whoever was needed to figure out what was happening down there where we were.
This is the golden hour of the Fedayeen.
Yeah.
You mean they were extraordinarily popular, and this is like 2 years before, if it's 1968, it's 2 years before Black September, when this changed
Absolutely.
utterly.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is a background that I don't think most viewers will know. I mean, American viewers would know, and Western viewers would know. But so there's an element of wistfulness, I think, about this like golden period. It's kind of like a fable almost. I mean,
yeah,
would you?
It's intentional. I intentionally stopped before Black September, before 1970. We all know what happens, or if you don't know.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. We don't all know what happened.
Yeah, we don't all know. You're right. We don't all know. But I think the audience of this film knows or starts to know. But I wanted to stay in that period of great hope and possibility. And Tarek is the hero of this film. Tarek and his mother, they're both. And Tarek is the only one who stays straight and clear-minded from beginning to end. He's, they teach you in film school the character has to change. Tarek never changes. Tarek is the same. He goes through, changes, I suppose, but he knows what he wants. He wants to get back. He's like that from the beginning to the end, and he leaves everybody behind, because those Fedayeen, when he meets them, he thinks, okay, now I've met I've met people who are thinking like me, like we're going to do this. And now he's part of this group. He thinks he's one of them. They see him as the child that he is. For him, he's one of them. And they're doing, they're going to do the same thing. And then he slowly realizes they're staying where they are. And he takes it into his own hands, and he goes off again by himself. And this time his mother listens to her son, follows him, and then leads him towards the border.
I can't skip over you have two just gorgeous campfire scenes. And this is the second one, where Zayn, who's Ruba Shamshum, is a Palestinian singer. The Fedayeen are just gathered around a campfire. There's a guitar, and she sings this song, and it's not high tech, it's just very campfirey, I guess, which I think is your intention. And it is such a beautiful scene.
It's romantic. It's meant to be romantic. I mean, changing the subject a little bit, when I finished this film and traveled around with it, a lot of audiences were disturbed by, particularly in the United States, and I was like, that it was romantic, that it was like, it's a fedain, but you don't show the violence, there's no violence. Where's the violence? I wasn't interested in the violence. I was interested in something else about the period. The violence is there. You always have a sense of it the entire time. You're hearing the soundtrack of planes, bombings, people are coming and going. These are people who've been made into refugees. For me, that violence is very clear without having to see it. But I found it was interesting that it's always that Palestinians and Arabs, but particularly Palestinians, are not allowed to be romantic about our stories. Whereas other places, I think it's acceptable. We can be romantic about, Che Guevara. We can be romantic about certain revolutionary movements, but we're not allowed to be romantic about ours. And I always found that interesting. This scene, the campfire, is very long. Considering the length of each scene in the film, this is quite a long one. I just wanted to let it just be what it was.
And
Yeah.
I don't think anyone that watches this movie, whatever, isn't overtaken by the romantic nature of these scenes, both of them, but especially this one. And here's another, I don't know if this is a romance. I mean, Reda and Laith are kind of they're sort of fighting over what about Tarek. I mean, his mother wants to bring him back to the camp, and Laith, I think, sees, oh, maybe that's not right. But they fight, but I mean, ultimately there's a sort of meeting between them. This is a wonderful scene. I don't know if you call it romantic, but
I think it's a little romantic. There's
yes, Reda says, "How did we lose it all?" And Leif says, "We didn't." And you can see the look on in their eyes as they say it. They're looking, maybe in reality, but certainly in the movie, they're looking out over the landscape towards Palestine. And I mean, it's kind of captures the spirit of the Fedayeen in that period. That's a wonderful, wonderful scene.
Yeah, thank you.
Here's you and
Here's
Ruba
Ruba.
Blal at the Toronto Film Festival. And
Yeah, she started calling us salt and pepper after this photo shoot.
and she just did a fantastic job on this movie. I mean, like Tarek, like they. We are really running short on time. I think I'm going to skip over Salt of the Sea, although this is another wonderful movie. You can shoot me afterwards, okay? Because this is
I'm
wonderful.
happy to go with the flow. There's Saleh again, looking much younger. That was before when I saw you. So he
Yes.
he was much younger.
Yes, but I need to get to Wajib. Is that how you pronounce it? Wajib?
Wajib.
Wajib.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Which means duty. and this is your most recent feature film, 2017. And the duty is for Leif, for Shadi, who's on the right, also played by Saleh Bakri. He's been living in Italy, and he comes back to to his home in Nazareth to help his father to attend his sister's wedding. His sister Amal, very appropriately named, I think probably on purpose, I don't know. So most of the movie is Shadi and Abu Shadi, his father, played by Mahmoud Bakri, who is indeed Muhammad, sorry.
Yeah, his son, one of his
Muhammad.
sons is Mahmoud, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Muhammad Bakri, who's a filmmaker, a very accomplished actor in his own right, and also the real father of Saleh Bakri. And many of the scenes are like this. They're in the car, and what they're doing is delivering the invitations, the wedding invitations, to Shadi's sister's Amal's wedding. And I would say that this is an opportunity to make a tour of Christian Nazareth. Would that be in the present time? Would that be kind of fair?
I would say it's a tour of Nazareth. I wouldn't say it's a tour of Christian Nazareth, because Nazareth is a very mixed city.
Of course.
And Shadi is also the child of a mixed marriage. So there, a lot of people think, I think they say that they think it's a very, all the houses are Christian because of the Christmas trees. But as anyone knows who has been to the Arab world, everybody has Christmas trees.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I guess I did know that, but I was forgetting it.
Yeah, it's I think it's well, anyway, it's
so anyway,
there are various reasons.
This would be here a typical, much more typical scene than the one in the front for the film, where Shadi has a perpetual scowl on his face. And in the course of this tour of Nazareth, we are in where they meet many families because they're delivering these wedding invitations. They're constantly bickering. They're constantly in argument. I made a rough count and I got to like 13 arguments. Some serious, some not that serious. At the time, they're constantly bickering, and yeah, obviously, though, they love each other, and we'll see that. But so
they love each other, George, and I think, and they love their cities. They love their city in different ways.
Yes.
You know, one of them loves it by defending everything about it, and the other one loves it by criticizing everything because he wants something better for it.
Yes, yes, indeed. So here's another picture of Shadi, and this is, I think maybe there was an argument, but if it wasn't a spoken argument, it was kind of a sort of implied argument. This is how he dresses. So he's been living in Italy. So he left because he's really frustrated with the dysfunction, I think, of Nazareth and of Palestine in general. And he has a girlfriend named, is it a girlfriend or wife?
Girlfriend.
Nada. He's got a girlfriend named Nada, whose father is described as a PLO intellectual, which I think, am I right? This doesn't give him much respect in Nazareth. Do people talk with respect to a
Well,
PLO?
look, it's not about Nazareth, but it's, there's it's about, what's happening today in Palestine, and there's a lot of criticism of course, about the Palestinian Authority, and Abu Shadi is obsessed with, trying to throw barbs at Shadi, about, this relationship because he's in a very different position, and for me, that he also feels very threatened by it. He feels threatened by it for a reason that he never ever says, but it's that, Neda is the daughter. Yes, she's the daughter of an intellectual. She comes from a much more comfortable background than Abu Shadi, who's a school teacher in Nazareth. But it's not about any of those things in the end. It's that his son Palestinians get to be with each other when they leave Palestine, because we're separated from each other here. West Bankers can't be with Gazans, cannot marry, cannot meet, cannot see, cannot go to Jerusalem. Jerusalemites are separate. Palestinians in Israel 1948 are not allowed. I mean, everything, you're not allowed to marry each other, you're not allowed to be together, not allowed to visit each other. Everything is about separation. So where do we meet? Palestinians meet outside of Palestine. So Shadi has met this woman that he's in love with outside of Palestine. They never would have met otherwise. They meet in Italy. But Abu Shadi knows that this woman can also never come back to Palestine. She is also, the daughter of a refugee. So he criticizes the Sulta side of her, the Palestinian Authority side. But he knows very well that if his son stays with this woman, that Shadi is definitely never coming back to Nazareth, because they would be forbidden. She's forbidden to come to Nazareth. So he would really lose him. And that's, the whole undertext of that.
Anyway, so let's take a look at Shadi's attire. There's first the man bun on the top. There's the
Yes.
shirt with the floral pattern. There's the hanky in the breast pocket. You can't see his trousers here, but they're orange, a light
orangey
orange.
pink. Yeah.
I think you chose these clothes carefully.
I did, and the man bun, which Saleh liked on day one of the shoot, and then after that he wanted to kill me because the film takes place in one day, so every single day we had to kind of straighten his hair and pull it up like that, and it was very uncomfortable for him.
He wouldn't be seen on the streets that way.
No.
But it's a very kind of challenging look, I think, and it must be I won't say a crossed bear, but it must be just very challenging for Abu Shadi to be with him, dressed like that, looking like that.
Yeah, and he pokes his fun at him.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's fun, but maybe it didn't come across like that. But yeah, so, and I guess we should mention that also it's not only Shadi who's gone to Italy, to the west, but also Shadi, that is Shadi's mother, who has gone to America. I think kind of the same reason, wouldn't you say? Just like frustration with the dysfunction in Palestine.
Well, she leaves because she's having an affair, and it's sort of, she intentionally leaves and doesn't want to be there anymore, and wants a different life for herself. Shadi, for me, never wanted to leave. He didn't want to leave, and he was encouraged to leave because he was an active and politically thoughtful conscious teenager, and that's a red flag here. And so when his father, who's a school teacher, who's just trying to get by, you know, is interrogated by the Shabak, the secret, what is it? The secret service, secret police, which is what happens here when somebody is, you know, politically conscious and aware and talking about it. Abu Shadi worries for him, so he sends him away. So for me,
yeah, that's right.
Shadi never wanted to leave, but once he's abroad, he finds he likes Italy. He likes being there. He likes, I mean, he finds his space, and he comes back with a lot of resentment, though. But yeah, it's sort of for me. I think he never wanted to go, and he was sort of, you know, pushed by his father and his father's fear for him to go.
Another big argument. So there's some major arguments, but minor ones. The big argument, though, is Roni Avi. So Roni Avi, I guess, is some kind of education minister and has a lot of control over education. And of course, as you've said, Annemarie, Abu Shadi is a school teacher, and he's ambitious to become, and he's a respected one, because people say hi teacher when he passes.
Yeah.
I think that
Well, it's a very respectable position. I mean, to be a teacher, I mean, it's Palestinians greatly value education, and being a school teacher is something, a teacher, an educator is a very honorable position and respected position, I would say. So he's close to his students, and he's respected in town, although he feels that his wife completely humiliated him because she left him. And everybody knows about it, and nobody's saying anything, but he knows that everybody, you know, knows about that, and he carries it with him. And Rani Avi is all the Arab schools, all the Palestinian schools have somebody who's reporting to the Ministry of Education. What are people teaching? What are teachers saying? They're being listened to, and they're being, I mean, it's still going on today. And reported. And so Abu Shadi walks the line. He knows what he's allowed to say and what he's not allowed to say, and that's what he's done all his life. And if he ever wants a promotion, which he wants now, he's got to put a certain, be a certain kind of teacher.
So the result of that is that Abu Shadi wants to deliver a wedding invitation to Roni Avi, who's this Israeli functionary, and this sets Shadi off. He's just livid about this. It's a blow up, which ends in kind of comically, but we're not going to have time for that.
We're not going to ruin the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are so many trivial arguments. One is over the green tarp. So in order to deck out the roof of the building where the wedding's going to take place, or I guess gather, so Abu Shadi wants to cover it with a green tarp, and Shadi thinks this is just so tasteless. This is so cheap. And Abu Shadi wins. So here's the green tarp, just loaded into the car as they're delivering these things. It's
I love that you screenshot that. I love it.
That was a hard one to catch.
Yeah.
And so this is Shadi's sister Amal meets Hope, which kind of is, I mean, Amal stays behind and is just committed to the well-being of her society, I think, and hasn't been away. She's stayed there. I mean, is this kind of a contrast between the siblings?
Yeah,
She's there,
absolutely.
he's away.
Absolutely. He's a rebel. He's left. He's, complains about this, complains about that. He's not, I mean, he's not the most pleasant person to be around sometimes. I mean, it's just like constant complaining, but it's, she's very different. He's doing things his own way. She is doing things like for me, she's doing things by the book. She's younger than him, but actually she's much more mature than him. She understands something about her family way before he does. I think he only figures it out at the end, with particularly about his father.
Indeed.
The wedding, the things they do, it's for him, it's for his reputation, it's for him having this, whatever, the things that are important to him, and that Abu Shadi has been the mother and father for them.
Yeah.
He's been both, and she knows that, and she sees that, and it's, she goes by the book in a way. It's because out of what, not to be selfish, out of selflessness. She's doing what she wants. She's in love. She's marrying for love. She's going to be with her husband, but she also does things that, her wajib, also.
At one point, she tells Shadi, "You don't understand. You just don't understand," or something
you
like
still
that.
don't get it. Yeah.
You still don't. Yeah, you still don't get it, right? And I think the audience thinks the same thing.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
So this is in this scene. Shadi is delivering some bad news to Amal. Should I leave that out, or should we say what the bad news is? Because I mean, I don't want to ruin. I don't know if this is.
I don't know how
a
many people
spoiler.
have seen the film. I don't know.
Is that a spoiler alert?
It is a spoiler alert. It is a spoiler alert.
I'm not. So
okay,
we're not
somebody
gonna
just
tell.
wrote, "Don't spoil."
I won't do it. I won't do
Okay.
it. But it is a very emotional.
Yeah.
And I've got to say that Maria Drake does a fantastic job at this in this scene. I don't know how you get these. Is she new too? I mean, I've never seen her.
She's not new. She's young, but she's acted a lot. And you've probably seen her in a number of Palestinian films, but she's a name definitely that you will continue to see. She's extremely talented. She's actually a lawyer who became an actress.
She's just is
Yes.
that what she is in the movie too?
No, it's the cousin who's a lawyer in the movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
An unemployed lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we won't tell it what the bad news is, but just look at the expression on her face, just how she just captures this. And it's kind of a tearjerker of a scene, maybe is a tearjerker of a scene. Ultimately, Shadi wins one of the 13 or whatever many arguments is that he has with his father. Here they are. We're at the wedding venue on the top of the house. They're looking out over Nazareth. I mean, there's wires all over the place and stuff. It's not exactly beautiful, but it's beautiful. And you see the lights. It's romantic.
I think that's a good description.
And Abu Shadi says, "You're right. The tarp the tarp is bad. We won't use the tarp." but by that time,
But Abu
Shadi,
Shadi says, but whatever Aman wants, which is what, yeah.
but
It's a compromise scene.
well, oh, do you think so? Oh boy, that's not how I interpreted it.
Yeah, I know.
interpret
I'm
it as a-
interested that that he won this. For me, they both accept each other in this moment.
Well, I mean, I think Shadi has conceded a lot more than his father has. His father says the tarp is a bad idea. Shadi looks out and I think he's this is home and look how beautiful it is. Even if it's shoddy in some ways. I mean, shoddy. Oh,
Yeah.
not that kind of shoddy.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. I mean, I think this is his Auda, his return, sort of. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. It's for sure. I mean, look, the three films are about Salt of the Sea. We didn't talk about it, but it's about a Palestinian, a woman who's a refugee, third generation refugee who comes back, from the diaspora back to Palestine. When I Saw You, it's 1967, and somebody who's exiled, and Wajib is about the Palestinians who are still in historic Palestine, but they're all about like what is that? What is home? What do you return to? What can you return to? There's definitely a connection between the three films and the idea behind it.
Okay, we're really close to timeout, to the end, but I wonder if you can just give a sketch of your new project, or do you want to? Should we just
I'm
go?
fine. No, we can. I got kind of depressed when you said, Wajib, Annemarie's last film was like 2017, because it's so long ago, and my films always have a long space between them because it takes a long time to finance these films. It's like 5 or 6 years to finance. But my new project,
you made your name with 20 Impossibles, which is about how hard it is to make films in Palestine.
yeah. So my new film is called All Before You, and it's set in 1930s Palestine, and it's the project of my life, and it's something I've been working on. I started writing it. Actually, I started writing before Wajib was, I was making Wajib. It's been with me a long time, and again, massive amounts of research, etc. And we financed it. We had the whole team on the ground, cast, crew, all our locations, everything. And our first day of shooting was October 15th, 16th, 2023. So the whole team was evacuated. The project was shut down. And we are now trying. It was, of course, a big blow to the project. We are resilient and creative, and we are going to continue, and we're going to do it. And it changes things, but we keep on. We do what we do. But it's very heartbreaking, and it's also a privilege to, that's the worst thing that, to talk about. It's like, I didn't talk about it for a long time because I can't, we got stopped making a film. People are, being slaughtered. People are dying, and it's, making a film is a privilege in front of all that, if that's our greatest problem. so I feel always a little bit funny to talk about, like, with such a nightmare that we, this film was, knocked off. But what's happening in Palestine is just so black and dark right now that it's nothing.
I have tons of questions that we have to get to. Let me ask, do you consider your career as part of the resistance?
I mean, my feeling is that everything Palestinians do is resistance.
That's a good argument.
Yeah, I mean, going to teaching is resistance, going to work is resistance, raising a family is resistance, staying here is resistance, going out and speaking is I mean, everything is resistance. And I really think that Palestinians are amongst the most creative people in the world, because it's like everything. You can imagine the most Kafkaesque situations and blocks, and constantly being shut down from here, shut down from here, shut down from there. Everything is made impossible, and we keep going, and we move forward, and we do it with love. And I think, yes, to answer you, it's resistance. It's insisting on living and not being erased.
So one of the questions, does the dramatic situation, which we just brought up, does the dramatic situation in Gaza inspire you for a new movie, new film? Do you have an idea for such a project? But you've just answered you have another project in mind, but are you thinking about like something that deals with Gaza?
I actually, so unrelated, so I have this project that got stopped, and we are going to continue, and we're going to make it, and I hope you will be watching it in a year. But I also have a film that takes place in Gaza, that's set in Gaza. This is something that I was attached to direct 2 years ago. And I told the producers, no matter what, we're going to film in Gaza. We're not going to film somewhere else for Gaza. Like, a lot of films are made about Gaza, and they're, but they're shot somewhere else. So I told them that it has to be done in Gaza. We will go there, we will film, despite that, no one's allowed in now. No one's allowed in, no one's allowed out. We know the situation with Gaza. But now, I mean, it's like, I don't know this project, but it's also something I'm not, I've got this other film first, and then we'll see. But it's a film set in Gaza during the first Intifada, by the way, in the late 80s, 87.
Mm-hmm. So when you plan and make a movie, is it among your goals to strike a balance between filmmaking as a free art form and making people aware of the Palestinian struggle? It's kind of a related question to what we've just talked about.
I don't know. I don't think I make films to make people aware of something. Like, I don't want to teach. That's what, there's not a lecture, it's a conversation. I don't want to be in a position where I'm trying to like, all my films are about Palestine, about our story. They're for us, they're about us. They're about our lives, but none of them really explain things for people who don't know. Like, When I Saw You doesn't explain the whole background of where Tariq and Ghaida are coming from.
Beit Nuba, and the Latrun salient, which is now Canada Park. Yeah. Sort of the first attack of I think of the Israeli soldiers on the West Bank.
Yeah, exactly. And Salt of the Sea, it's the same thing so
the Wayma.
Doaima, which is this massacre. They go to Doaima. There's a scene there, like, but he doesn't say, here's my family's from here, there was a massacre here in 1948. Like, I trust that the audience, if they're really interested, they will find, they will maybe be intrigued to find that information themselves.
But can you talk about the challenges that you and other Palestinian filmmakers are facing before and after October 7th? And in quotes, normal times, how does the logistics of making movies under occupation work? And what about now?
Yeah, well, so under normal times, under occupation, you know, it's a nightmare. I mean, it's to make a film here is one of the biggest, logistical nightmares. Your crew, depending on what color ID they have, what kind of, where they live, are they allowed to be here? Are they allowed to, you have to, there's no freedom of movement. We don't have permission to film in many of the locations we would like to film in. There's all kinds of things to deal with in that way. Because of the occupation now, it's the same, but it depends where you are. I mean, I'm not in Gaza. Like, you ask a filmmaker in Gaza now, I mean, they will give you a very different, answer, like what they have to deal with now. I mean, they're dealing with, surviving, finding water, finding something to eat, not being shot.
So
I'm
you're
just trying to, yeah.
you're a poet as well as a cinematic impresario. How does your experience as a poet influence your filmmaking, and vice versa?
Poetry and film are very close to me. They're very similar art forms. Both of them are trying to figure out how to express something in a very minimal way, but not just express, like to capture a feeling, capture a moment in a minimalistic way. And poetry, words allow you to do that. And where it can't, visuals can, and vice versa. I mean, yeah.
Someone in the audience asked why this return to the 1970s of the Fedayeen, and I think probably maybe he was referring to the late 60s, because the 1970s is after Black September. I don't know actually what the intention is here, but is this to remind the current dispersed and divided resistance that the Fedayeen, different in their ideology, were together for the struggle? And I don't even know about this different in their ideology. I mean, different from each other. I'm not sure whether the intention is that the Fedayeen were differed in their ideology, but nevertheless were together for the struggle. I'm not quite sure what the question is.
Me neither, but the beginning of the question is why is that I think it's an incredible period. It's an incredible period of hope, of when the Palestinian movement was also very international, when leftist movements were connected very much to each other, and there was a lot of I just feel like right now things have become much more isolated than and at that time, and I find it incredibly important to talk about that generation. And I'm always interested in moments, human moments. I when people say, I'm not a refugee, I'm not a victim, I'm going to fight for my freedom, I'm going to do something about my condition. I think it's an incredible and empowering, moment in our history.
Yeah, it is remarkable, especially in when I saw you, that the international solidarity. Remember, I asked you on the phone about this person in the Fedayeen camp that looked like he was Latino. I thought Latino. I thought maybe he was like Cuban or something. Is that?
Yeah,
Did I have him wrong?
Yeah, I know who you. Yeah, you said. Then you sent me his picture. That guy actually is Thai and Jordanian, mixed Thai Jordanian.
Okay, well,
Yeah, but the actors were cast. I mean, there's the guy in the camp who's painting all the time. He's based on a guy named Mark Rudin, who I think his Fidei name was Abu Jihad, not Abu Jihad. Now I'm blanking, but he was like this Swiss guy who came and joined the Fedayeen. He was like, there were people that were, from the East, from the West, like they believed in the struggle, and the struggle was won in the world. So you do have that mix in the camp, yes.
yeah, we experience it here in the United States. I mean, I was a war resistor during the Vietnam War, and now I would say that the PLL dominated, but this is put in the same category as anti-colonialism in the liberation movements in Africa and so on. Although that really disappeared not long after that in the United States, you might say the left in the United States.
Yeah. Well, unity is threatening to people in power.
So one of the audience asked, and I had no idea about this, you plan to adopt the novel The Oblivion Theory, written by Jose Eduardo Abalusa. And what's the news on that project? I had no, this is a clue. I have clueless about this.
That's the project in Gaza. So that's the project that I'm attached to. So it's this novel that was adapted and set in Gaza in the first Intifada. So
although the original wasn't about Gaza.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, somebody did their research well.
Exactly. I had no clue what he was referring to. So let's see. Here's a question, or maybe a statement. I'm not sure. Muhammad Mughani, I guess, wins the grand prize at the Clermont-Ferrand Short Film Festival in France. He is a young director from Gaza. Do you know him? What message can you send to him? I think this is someone from our steering committee that asked this.
Yeah, I don't personally know him. That's amazing if he just won the grand prize at Clermont-Ferrand, which is, for those who don't know, is probably one of the best short film festivals in the world. Is this a link to his film? Is there a link to his film?
In the chat, there might be. I don't dare open the chat because I have the questions here.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I mean, I have nothing to say that anyone in Gaza, I mean, they are the ones really. A lot of people are saying it, and it's true. They are the ones teaching us what is resilience and what is creativity and what is
valor.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good
bravery.
word. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have 100,000 filmmakers in Gaza now.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a question in the chat. Okay. So have you done any work with PLL film archive content? Content. I remember reading about how it was destroyed by the Zionists in Beirut, but I know some of the materials were recovered elsewhere. Would love to know any experience or thoughts you have regarding the archive. So this is like I mean, and it's not just film, but cultural gems altogether. I mean, books and things like that, which were lost in the Nakba, and like how, you know, recovering them. This must be dear to your heart, actually.
Yeah, it's very dear to my heart, and it's yes, I've done a lot of work with those archives. Those archives majorly influenced When I Saw You. For anyone who's watched those films, When I Saw You is definitely a nod to those films, and references very directly even certain shots and moments in those films, because it's also a major moment. It's part of the period when people decided, you know, to do something about their condition. They were not going to, you know, sit in the camp and wait. They were going to do something about it. It's also in cinema. There were film units. They were picking up cameras. They were filming themselves. They were filming themselves, which is different than having a camera pointed at you and somebody else telling a story about you. Is that you are telling the story, and you can really see it in those films and those archives. And those images affected me very much. And even, you know, before When I Saw You, you know, that archive that was, you know, disappeared in Beirut and stolen, like so many of our archives, and continue to be stolen till now. I mean, whenever the Israeli army, and, you know, invades anything, they grab the hard drives of all the computers. Why is that? I mean, anyway, that's a long conversation to have, but I've been very much involved in projects to try to recover and restore and find those films and those filmmakers, who many of them are around, and some of them continue to make films, some of them didn't. Yeah, it's a big subject.
Someone in the audience says, today I think we are seeing a coming together of movements in support of Palestine again. Do you agree? Like, I think you were implying in 1968.
Yeah, I see.
There was a coming together.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah, I hope so. Really, I mean, I know that there's a lot of a lot happening despite what's going on right now. There is really international solidarity. People are, you know, I think there's been a shift. I mean, you can't hide. These crimes cannot be hidden. I mean, it's just like, and there's nothing new that's happening right now, except for it's just you know, it's just out there more. People have cell phones now. People are recording it. People are, like, you know, it's been said many times, people are filming. There are no, you know, journalists in Gaza. So people are filming, you know, their own genocide. On social media, we've never seen something like that before. So there's no way now that people can say they didn't know what was happening. Nobody has that excuse.
This is a great question to end on. So I think we will make a stop here. Thank you so much for agreeing to this wonderful conversation, Annemarie. So
thank you very much. It was a pleasure to speak. And thank you for the questions.
okay.